and I will be ready for me. We're all right, beautiful, and we're all and there can be low until we see bottom inside of the thunder. Well, straight to the shadows, the hollow will go. So here's a health to you girls of old Fox Harbor, of O'Carroll and Brent, that's whole Aberley. Now let's see me jolly, no be melancholy. Sure, I can't marry all that in Chioki I'll be. We're all right, beautiful, and we're all and there can be low until we see bottom inside of the sunken. Well, straight through the shadow that all over home. We're all right, beautiful, and we're all and there can be low until we see bottom inside of the sunken. Well, straight through the shadow that all over home.
Thank you. That was a very well-known Newfoundland song, The Ryans and the Pitmans. Good evening and welcome to Heritage. My name is Dennis Ryan of Ryan's Fancy, and we're here having a wonderful time in the Anglican Church Hall in Ireland's Cove, Placentia Bay, Newfoundland. About 7 years ago, we attended a concert here in aid of the building fund for this very same church. And that was our introduction to the people of the islands of Placentia Bay, who are our guests tonight on this episode of Heritage. We're going to take a look at the unique heritage of these people of the islands in music, song, poetry and drama. And to do this, we're going to take a trip up the islands of Placentia Bay. But we're going to be back here later on. And to help us on our way, here's a selection of hornpipes.
At your neighborhood home hardware.
Walk again on the rocks of Merasheen. Oh, the hard rocks, the rocky rocks, the rocks of Merasheen. I still recall the sad farewell I bid
the rocks of
The music for that song, The Rocks of Mirasheen, was written by Pat Byrne. That's Pat over there, the big fella. He's from Placentia Bay, and so too was the man who wrote the words, Newfoundland poet Al Pittman.
Al, yourself and the Wareham brothers and Linda Slade and Pat and Joe Byrne, you all have a strong sense of your origins in Placentia Bay. And this is obvious in your songs and music and in your own poetry. Is there any particular reason for this?
Well, Benny, you know, I think everybody at some time or other, you know, becomes conscious of their origins and, you know, who are my parents, who are my grandparents, you know, where did I come from, and in a, you know, where so many of us are so mobile these days, you know, it isn't surprising, I suppose, that a lot of people, you know, make a conscious effort to search out their roots and their origins and make the heritage of their parents some conscious kind of part of their own lives. I spent the first 6 months of my life in the Bay, and that was the extent of my living in the Bay. And of course, it was, you know, it was in infancy, and I have no recollection of the first 6 months of my life. But I did go back, you know, for the first time when I was 4 years old, and I think the next time was when I went back with my wife the year we were married in 1967, and that was after resettlement. So my first-hand presence in the Bay was very, very limited, you know, and still I presume to deal with that environment, you know, in my work, which is an arrogant posture to take. But on the other hand, you see, I did grow up in Placentia Bay because my mother and father never left it, and wherever I lived with them, in their house, their kitchen and living room and backyard, I was surrounded by images of Placentia Bay.
There it is, boys. Best Howard, straight ahead.
Why it's so, I think, an inspiration to so many people from Placentia Bay, and especially those who might be, you know, musically inclined or whatever, is that here you don't have to go back 100 years or 200 years. You know, I have to go back only within the time span of my own lifetime. And in fact, if I go back to my birth in 1940, you know, it is like going back hundreds of years, because for hundreds of years prior to that, nothing had changed in the village where I was born. Well, I suppose there were two crucial changes that occurred there, you know, from the time of settlement to the present, and one was the arrival of the motorized boat when it replaced sail. That was a big thing, and the other was the death of the community itself. You know, when the people resettled and abandoned that community. With, you know, Wolf Wareham, and who's from a resettled community, and all his brothers, and Linda Slade was from another one, and Joe and Pat Byrne, who were from another one, and I'm from another one, all located in this very bay. And these are only, you know, 4 or 5 of dozens of settlements that were erased, really, in recent years. And well, it's a lot of people who are interested in where they come from and where their parents lived or their grandparents lived. A lot of people can go back and, you know, there's still people walking the streets, and there's still, you know, there's a corner store that maybe their parents used to hang out in when they were, but any of us who go back, you know, it's all we find are, you know, are ruins, and every year we go back there's more ruination and less solid artifacts of what used to be there, you know.
This bay here is full of history, some of it tragic. In 1929, a huge tidal wave devastated the coastline. That was a tragic event. But perhaps typically it's treated in song in a humorous way. And here's the lads to sing for you A Great Big Sea Hole in Long Beach.
A great big sea hole in Long Beach, right full of all the little Lido. A great big sea hole in Long Beach, Granny Snooks was lost her speech to me right from City Valley. Well, there was a great big sea hole in the harbour, right full of all the little Lido. A great big sea hole in the harbour, all right up to the old Falcon, right from City Valley. Oh, mother dear, I was the sack, right full of all the little Lido. Mother dear, I was the sack, with beads and buttons all down the back, right from City Valley. When he flew, his road to be fucking forward, right full of all the little ladies. He knew his road, he fucking tall, but she hardly slipped right through a door, right from City Valley. Now fishes low and flowers high, right full of all the little ladies. Fishes low and flowers high, so Georgie Snooks he can avoid him, right from City Valley. Ah, but he will have me in the fall, right full of all the little ladies. If he don't, I'll hoist his sail and say goodbye to all Canadians, right from City Valley. Well, a great big sea hole in Long Beach, right full of all the little ladies. A great big sea hole in Long Beach, and Granny Snooks she's lost her speech to me right from City Valley, right from City Valley.
Thanks, Frank. Well, it's a lovely summer's evening here in the heart of Placentia Bay, and I'm here in a place called Best Harbour. And my friend beside me here is Frank Best. Frank, this used to be your home, and to a certain extent it still is.
Yeah, I always will be. Yeah. Whatever I'm alive, it's going to be my home, yeah. I live in Iron's Cove now, but I'm sure coming up, and I spent about 5 months out of 12 here in Best's Harbour. So I'll be here whatever I'm able to come, or I'll be coming here. Yeah.
Well, why do you still come back?
Because there's everything to get here. There's lobsters here, and there's fish here, and there's rabbits, and everything like that, you know. And your light bill don't be even high at the end of the morning.
Well, there's nobody living here anymore.
No, nobody, no.
How many people lived here one time?
Well, there's up to between 9,000 people, or 900,000 people, just a few years before we left.
What did people do for a living?
Well, mostly fish, and their cattle, and they had their own vegetables, all the vegetables. They had the garden, and you never had to buy no vegetables, and all that. That was in the gardens, you know, whatever you want was there. The fish, get your fish and dry it. Well, you never had to buy anything for the winter, did you? I mean, nothing at all. And your light bill, he wasn't too high, and the oil bill was nothing. There was lots of wood. And if you wasn't too lazy, you had to live and be comfortable. That was it. Fish was $2 a quintal, eh? $2.50 would be the best. But today, you get that for, almost get that for a pound today, wouldn't you?
What did you do for entertainment in those days?
Well, if they wouldn't have danced in the hall or something like that, you'd go to the people that had stores and houses, and you'd have a house dance. Or maybe if you couldn't get one in the house tonight, the skipper say, some fellow say, had traps in the store. We'll take out, if we can tell mine to take out the traps and clean out, you can have a dance in there. We'd lay up the old kerosene oil lamps and give it to her, crack that down. accordion fiddler going right there. That's going it on.
I pondered on those days gone by as I sat beside the mill and gazed upon the setting sun as it sank beneath the hill. I gazed on it once more, me boys, 'twas the very sun I've seen. It's just the same now as it was when we were sweet 16. Oh, how I long for those bright days to come again once more. But come again they never will, for now I'm 64. The little fish swim in the brook and wander down below. They swim on still and never will, as they did long, long ago. The little meadow by the brook is just as fresh and green. It's just the same now as it was when we were sweet 16. Oh, how I long for those bright days to come again once more. But come again they never will, for now I'm 64. Oh, the past is past and he is gone, on earth we'll meet no more. But we will meet in heaven above, on that eternal shore. And when we meet we'll part no more, we both will reign supreme. No more to sing of days gone by when we were sweet 16. Oh, how I long for those bright days to come again once more. But come again they never will, for now I'm 64. Oh, how I long for those bright days to come again once more. But come again they never will, for now I'm 64. Thriving community. Centralisation or resettlement is a familiar word in the Newfoundland vocabulary, and I'm sure many people across the country would like to know what centralisation or resettlement means.
Well, resettlement and centralization, which is the same thing, two different words commonly used for it, was a government plan that was executed in Newfoundland by the provincial government of Newfoundland in the early and mid-50s and carried on through to the mid and late 60s. It was a plan to move the people from the smaller communities that were considered isolated and out of the way, communities around the coast of Newfoundland, into larger centralized areas, more accessible areas of the province. Placentia Bay was perhaps the hardest hit with resettlement, and Pax Beach is only one of dozens of communities like this in Placentia Bay that were once thriving communities within the fishing economy of the island and are now just as dead as this one is. I think it's a sad fact. Whatever the intended benefits might have been.
Well, first it was the people against the government. But then the priests got into it on the side of the government. And then it was the people up against the government and the priest. by and by, as time passed, it got to be more and more the people against the people. It got pretty dirty betimes because a lot of people couldn't see the sense in moving. Their homes was here, they belonged here, and they were comfortable. A lot of people like me couldn't see the sense in giving up our homes, our gardens, our stages and stores and boats, and moving out somewhere else to find the same things among a crowd of strangers. But in the end, we all got caught up here.
Come all you young fellows and list while I tell of a terrible misfortune that upon me befell. Centralization, they say, was the name, but me, I just calls it the government game. My home was St. Karen's, a heavenly place. It thrived on the fishing of a good hearty race. But now it will never again be the same, for they've made it a pawn in the government.
All that winter, down at the meetings and places, you'd never think that anybody was going to leave St. Kevin's come hell or high water. But come spring, you could tell it was changing. Nobody was admitting it. But we all knew that it'd be all gone come winter. It was like something got a hold and you couldn't shake it off. By this time you could see that nobody was turning their gardens or taking care of anything like they used to. And then the word went around the place that couldn't get a teacher. So there'd be no school for the youngsters in the fall. And then Father McCormick up announced he was leaving on account of his health. And there'd be nobody to take his place. And that was the end of it. It was done, man. Even the strongest ones signed up the petition for their allowance. I can't blame them, though. So by and by, we could see the boards going up on the windows. People going about the business of moving, just the same as if it was the most natural thing in the world. But they wouldn't laugh while they were doing it. There was a sadness that came over the place that summer. A terrible sadness. Like a darkness that nobody could see through.
So the government paid us for moving away and leaving our birthplace for a better day's pay. They said that our poor lives would never be the same once we took part in the government game. It's surely a sad sight they're moving around, wishing they still live by the cod fishing ground. Now there's no going back now, there's nothing to gain. They've all become part of the government game. But when my soul leaves me for the heavens above, take me back to St. Karen's, the place that I love. And there on my tombstone, right next to my name, just say I died playing.
You people still keep coming back, don't you?
Well, we come back as visitors, and we come back for sentimental reasons. There are other people who come back to pursue their livelihood, to fish out of these places that were once their homes. You know, there's something romantic and I suppose a bit unreal about the way we come back. We come back in song, and we come back in, through living those areas of our culture that originated here, and we come back for pleasurable visits, from time to time. I don't know if any of us would be prepared to come back and live the way our fathers lived here or the way our grandfathers lived, but nevertheless our roots are here, and our heritage is here, and I guess that's why we keep coming back.
They go down with their nets to the shore. They go down like their fathers before. And the sea seems to say, if you ride me today, I will grant you the wealth of my store. They are sea people, the pride of the land, strong of the spirit and rough of the hand. Sea people, the waters command, down the rocky old seas of the strand. The cold beaches alone, as the first light of morning is born, on a drift in the haze where the white seagull strays, you might catch a glimpse on the foam of the sea people, the pride of the land. Strong of the spirit and rough of the hand. See people, the waters command, down the rocky old steeds of the strand. See people, pride of the land. Strong of the spirit and rough of the hand. Deep people, the waters command, down the rocky old steeds of the strand.
Something for the younger people that was bad for the older people. That the older people, was home, and home was home. But once they left home, they were all knocked about. But for the younger people, yeah, I agree with it.
Why did you leave yourself?
Well, I left there for the sake of my family because, I wanted my kids to go to school because school was cut out here. We hadn't got any. So I took my family up to Placentia, and so they could get education, which we never got. And so they got a head break. Now I come back there, in springtime just for relaxation.
Oh, this is the place where the fishermen gather, with oilskins and boots and caverns battened down. All sizes of figures with squid lines and jiggers, they congregate here on the squid jigging ground.
Some are working their jiggers while others are yarning, and some standing up and there's more lying down. While all kinds of fun jokes and tricks are begun as they wait for the squid and the squid jigging ground.
Other men from the harbour and men from the tickle, in all kinds of motorboats, green, grey and brown. There's a red-headed Tory out there in the dory, running down squires on the squid chicken ground.
They saw there on top of the water. I just got me sugar about one bottle down. So when it's swimming the boat, squares it right down his throat. Now he's swearing like mad and the switching in brown. Now if ever you feel inclined to go sprinting in your white shirt and collar behind in the town, and if you get cranky without a little hanky, you better steer clear of the switching in brown.
Your play, West Moon, deals with the issue of resettlement in a fictitious Placentia Bay village called St. Kevin's. A village such as I imagined this one to be.
Yeah, the community of St. Kevin's was based on is very much like this, Dennis. And it is, the play presents my view, I guess, of resettlement, and it may not be everybody's view. Some people may see resettlement as having had some benefits in their lives. I didn't have to experience it myself, and I suppose I have the liberty of seeing it as a tragic thing, and the play treats it that way.
Well, one day I was up in the garden trying to drive the horses out, and I seen Fawn's friend come up to his pump. Well, you know that old pump Fawn's had up there behind the house, the one he had all the trouble with. But Fawn's had a fashion, you know. He'd curse that pump up and down until he'd get her to hold. It was the day before he had to shift, or the week before anyway, because I mind he had the upstairs windows all boarded up, ready to go. Anyway, he come up to the pump, and he cursed, and he primed, and he primed, and he cursed, and he couldn't get her to take hold. So he goes down the meadow, and he picks up a rock, and he brings up the rock. He's damn near as big as a boulder. I know, I was hiding up there behind the horse until he couldn't see. And he brought this rock right down on her. No, sir. Rock bounced off his old iron pump, rolled down over the bank. Arms goes down, picks up the rock, comes up again, hauls off, lets him go again. The handle jiggled a little bit, but that was that. So he goes down a third time, and he comes up. With all his might, he brought that boulder right down on the pump. Bounced off, and down she goes in the middle. Well, I figured now, Hans was going to give up on her. But know what? He took his bucket, and he went over, and he hung one of his buckets onto the lip of the pump. And he took her by the handle, gave her a little squeeze, and she took hold. And he filled his two buckets, picked up his hoop, went over, laid his hoop on the two buckets. And you know what he did then? He went and sat down on the bank and looked at that damned old pump and stared at the ball like a baby. Honest to God, cross me heart. He sat over there on the bank looking at that contrary old thing, and he damn near broke his heart. And you know Fawn's friend, he was not a man for crying, not even at funerals. But he cried that day. Damn near broke my heart to see him do it.
When the sun goes down on Cradle Hill, and darkness then fills up the sky, and memories fill up your mind, I hope you do not cry. When the sun goes down on Cradle Hill, oh, please don't weep, my darling one. Oh, please don't ever weep for me, for I'm far beyond the reach of the wild and the raging sea. For I'm far beyond the raging sea. Remember what it all meant then, the fragrant flowers blooming there, the birds whose summer song
did fill the evening air.
While death lies buried deep beneath the footsteps and voices of visitors who come loving and longing to the long-remembered, the worms can go about their slow, busy feast, and it won't matter. While death decays no distance at all from the smells of fish frying and outhouses freshly used and savory hanging upside down in brown paper bags behind the stoves, the rivulets running like tiny subterranean rivers to the sea can carry their residue of flesh with them all their flowing lives, and it won't matter. While death sleeps deep in the soundless ground, beneath the sighs and cries of babies buried in cribs full of blankets, and the sing-song sound of women weeping in beds full of husbands, and the tiny talk of big men rolling home from the fields of fish on the zillion-acre ocean, the silent sleep can last forever, and it won't matter. Nothing of death's desolation will matter as long as dead lovers are loved still in the wishes of lovers left alive and longing. Nothing of it will matter as long as the honored dead are honored still in the heartfelt toasts of drunk and drinking men, or as long as cursing men still curse their dead enemies, glad to be rid of them and their interventions. It won't matter how long the dead lie dying of hunger, as long as children remember the taste of their dead mom's milk and the feel of breasty flesh upon their cheeks. It won't matter as long as the living live and remember, whether they thrive or endure, as long as the living live and remember, the dear deceased cannot be diminished by the fearful fact of death. All this and more the ever-remembered here have learned. However brief, however uncertain their time alive, they learned before they died that there is no survival this side of immortality, no final gladness this side of heaven.
From feuding families, it was hot.
I'm an old Newfie sailor from Newfoundland shore. I fish for me living on the wild Labrador. Now the fishing's all over, me work is all done, and I'm going out tonight with me rubber boots on. So I ate up me supper and I drank off me beard. For courting indeed I was highly prepared. With the day's work all over and the night coming on, I remember that night with me rubber boots on. I knocked on her door and me knock it was low, and out of her slumber me knock she didn't know. She came to the door and said, "Is that you, Tom?" "It is, love," said I, with me rubber boots on. For daylight next morning with the sun in the sky, I turned to me true love to say goodbye. She said, "Don't you leave me, don't you know you done wrong, for you slept here all night with your rubber boots on." I turned to me love with a wink and a smile. I said nothing could happen in such a short while. Whatever I did, love, I did it for fun, and I hopped out of bed with me rubber boots on. It's been 9 months later, I was summoned to court. 10 shillings a week, I was fined for me sport. 10 shillings a week from a fisherman's son, I regretted that night with me rubber boots on. But now I'm back fishing, I'm happy for sure. I'll make them 10 shillings on a wild Labrador. And when he gets bigger, I'll take along me son, and he'll catch the codfish with his rubber boots on.
the one and only, Warren brother. Well, here we're back from our great trip throughout Placentia Bay, but we didn't leave all the people of the islands up there. Is there anybody out there from the islands? Great. Well, we have some entertainment for you here tonight from people from the islands of Placentia Bay. From Paradise, here's Pat and Joe Byrne.
In Placentia Bay, there sat on the shore a young girl who mourned for her love who's no more. For the pride of his manhood is the prize of the sea, and the seagulls still follow on freedom. She held out her hand to an old salt passed by, and lifted her head with a tear in her eye. Said, sit and I'll tell you a tale of great woe, while the seagulls still follow on freedom. I come from Toronto upon the mainland, and there's many's a thing here that I don't understand. Like, why are these young men still slaves to the sea, while the seagulls still follow on freedom? He said to this young maid as he held her small hand, the sea and its fury are part of this land, and them who can't take it, they better not stay with the seagulls who follow on freedom. Those men who quote figures and count the cause lost, they see only the high sea and the lies it has caused. They don't see the life as we know it to be, like the seagulls who follow on freedom. So they cheat us and rob us and continue to say that our only salvation is leaving the bay. But I'll soon be 90, and there's one thing I know, that the seagulls still follow on freedom.
Thank you, Joe and Pat Byrne. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, lots of fishing by the town, lots of fishing near the hill. Boys and girls are fishing together, 45 for carbon here. Can you hold it? Can you hold it? Bigger than this one, bigger than she. There's a little one, bigger than that one, bigger than this one, bigger than me. Charlie's got a bunch of babies, Father said it, he didn't care. Cause he liked the fun of a fortune, that was down the fishing like this. Can you hold it? Can you hold it? Bigger than this one, bigger than she. There's a little one, bigger than that one, bigger than this one, bigger than me. George gets up in the morning, he gets up in the head of the fair. He's holding the earth right out of the trenches, now we've got him prepared to win. Can you hold it? Can you hold it? Bigger than this one, bigger than she. There's a little one, bigger than that one, bigger than this one, bigger than me. asleep I've seen her walking on the cliffs above the rocks of Merageen. On the hard rocks, the rocky rocks, the rocks of Merageen. On the hard rocks, the rocky rocks, the rocks of Merageen.